Well, one thing we talked to him about is that we've really played much better in the second half than the first half of ball games. So, why are we starting slow? Are we coming out too conservative? Are we, making adjustments at halftime? If so, so part of it was just trying to get off to a better start. The other part was more specific things like, third and long, red zone, and at the same time, with that, we started working on Nebraska and tried to give them normal down and distance before we broke for the weekend.
I know that obviously you're focused on their defense, but I guess it came on all of our minds when we see Taylor Martinez. It's changed things.
Well, there's certainly certain things that look similar when he rides and pulls the ball and explosive plays. And so I was able to watch the ball game Thursday night, and I thought it's really the first time I've seen their offense, but I thought he was very impressive.
I guess what you see out of their defense?
Their defense is very similar to last year. Both corners are back. They do a great job. They're not afraid to play man-to-man. They're not a huge blitz team because they feel like they can pressure with four. It allows them to play a bunch of different combination coverages in the secondary, whether or not it's man with help or whether or not it's match, where they're matching route schemes and things like that. You don't see many people running free in their secondary. They play very well. But the biggest thing is you got to try to stay on schedule, and then when you do get your one-on-one shots, which will happen in the ball game, you got to take advantage of.
Think about your offensive game and Garrett and trying to get him more comfortable. I mean, what can you do to make him more comfortable? Do you tailor it towards him, or is it just experience?
I do think we need to tailor some things, towards him that he's doing extremely well, and I think that's part of the second half. First half, we've kind of come out a little bit with the idea of let's get the flow of the game, and to some degree we've turned him loose more in the second half, and he's been much more productive, in which we've been more productive. So, I think as we head down to the at this point in the season, that we need to let him go earlier in the ball game.
Obviously, kind of along that line, obviously trust is a big deal with players and all that. In evaluating what you've seen, do you think that maybe you weren't trusting Garrett enough early in games, and now that needs to happen?
Yeah, I don't know if that's the right word in this case, because I've been very comfortable with his preparation and the way he studied. But at the same time, we've kind of tried to get into the ball game and see what's happening, and then go from there. And I do think we have to come out with a little faster tempo and let him do the things that he's done in the second half earlier. And I think Oklahoma was a good example. I think he was 10 out of 15 for 60 yards in the first half. He threw for over 200 in the second half.
Coach, you put that another way. Is it now the focus going to be more on attacking the defense a little more directly, a little earlier, as opposed to taking stock of the landscape and then making it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that is a good way that, we have to be a little bit more attacking and aggressive in the way we come out. At the same time, depending on what people are doing, that has a certain bearing on the way you play the ball game too.
Coach, when you look at weekend games like this weekend, do you pick up things and say, hey, why don't we put that in, or why don't we put that in? Other teams you see successes?
You do to a certain degree. I mean, we're all fans. All of us that do this are fans of the game of football. So, you see certain things that people are doing that are effective. What you got to evaluate, does it fit your personnel? Does it fit your scheme? Is it similar to something you're doing? But you can just tweak a little bit to make it work. But yeah, you're always looking, whether or not it's college games, pro games, or for that matter, high school games. Every time you watch a game, I think we're all fans of the sport, and we're all looking for things that fit what we do.
Do you think what y'all do now fits here, or do you think come the end of the season maybe you'll kind of reevaluate?
No, I think, what we're doing is, he's been very accurate throwing the ball. He's done a good job taking care of the ball. And, He's thrown the ball down the field in the second half much better. So I think maybe, early in the ball game, we've worked underneath. We need to challenge a little bit more, which will help, work out underneath. And then we're constantly talking to Garrett about, making plays with your feet, because I think he can make some more plays with his feet than he has through the first part of the season.
What about DJ? What are y'all's plans with him?
We're constantly looking at some ways to get him involved a little bit more. Obviously, he's one of the explosive guys that can make big plays. And now he has been, he's been a back now for, 2 weeks, 2 games, then an open date. And so this will be a month that he's been there. So he's more comfortable doing more things now than he was earlier. And at the same time, we got to make sure that we don't ask him to do a bunch of things that physically he cannot do. Okay, thank you all.